Guys, as a young boy, I was one of the most obsessed people in the world. Like, I've been obsessed with so many different things. Whether it was when I did yo-yo competitions as a kid, whether it was sports, whether it was, everything. I've done the gym, my physique, I've done running, I've done, everything, soccer. I have so many Instagram accounts. I did flips, magic, all these different things, right? I've been one of the most obsessed people in the world. And what happened was, as a teenager and as an early adult, I fell into extreme vices, right? That obsession flipped into the worst of the worst things. I was obsessed with weed, like a hyper addict to weed, every different thing, right? I was obsessed with the YOLO lifestyle, just drinking, partying, all these things, and I fueled that obsession into the wrong things. And guess what? I was hit with derealization, 24/7 derealization that happened for 4 years. Right, 4 years of me not thinking I'd ever get my life back. 4 years of me thinking I was the only person on earth that was ever, going to live with dpdr for the rest of their life. The only person that had the symptoms I had. I had visual symptoms, existential thoughts, didn't recognize myself, friends, family around me. Terrified, right? I was terrified living in that state. And what happened was, I realized that I was in that state because I wasn't aligned with the purpose that the younger version of myself had, the goals that person had, the ambition that person had, and the purpose that God put me on earth to be. So I realized that I can flip that obsession, fuel it into my higher self, into becoming someone for myself, into stepping into the best version of me. And as soon as I did that, I stopped caring about dpdr. I stopped caring about derealization. I stopped caring about recovery. I only cared about how much better I looked with my physique, how much better I talked with my speaking, how much more of an impact I had. I did fitness coaching back then to my clients, how much of a better man I could be for my future wife or kids, how much better I could be. That was the new obsession. And the only way that happened was because I started taking action, and there started to become so much of a reward and fulfillment out of that I didn't even care about fucking dpdr anymore. That's the goal. And you can only get there by doing it for long enough to get that hit. So I'm going to tell you guys exactly how to know what to do, how to know your higher self, how to know why you want to do it, and how to become obsessed. And how to use that obsession that, it's impossible to fall into dpdr if you don't have that obsession personality. Because as soon as you fall into it, the only reason it stays is because you are obsessed with it. So all you got to do is flip that shit. So in this video, I'm going to be breaking down exactly how you can do this for yourself, to recover literally as a byproduct of how obsessed you're going to be with the best version of you. Alright, so let's get right into it. Alright guys, I'm super excited for this video because this is the power of the obsession and the path to your higher self. Let's get right into it. You here right now have the ability to weaponize what got you first into dpdr to become someone. Not only to recover, obviously you're going to overcome it with this, but to step into the new version of yourself, the recovered, best, highest version of yourself who lives in congruence with you. The first thing you have to do is understand obsession. So, ask yourself the question, what is obsession? What is obsession? Obsession is one of the core traits that's shared by almost everyone who experiences dpdr, okay? One, it is not a weakness at all. It is not something that's wrong with you. And a lot of times people think, oh, I'm just like an addiction. Addiction is another word for obsession, right? They think like, oh, I'm addicted to all these things. I can't stop researching all these things. Obsession isn't inherently a bad thing at all. It's actually like one of the best things you could ever have. You just use it in the wrong way. It is simply intense focus. When this focus is directed towards fear, so when you are focused on the wrong things, what happens is you start monitoring for, survival, all of these things. The mind becomes extremely and entirely overwhelmed, right? And this overwhelmedness makes the nervous system step into a protection mode, which is where it goes under its shell, right? This is where you can have derealization symptoms, to where you genuinely don't feel like anything's real, to where you kind of feel detached from yourself. You look in the mirror, you don't even recognize yourself. All these crazy symptoms, existential thoughts, are stemming from this obsession, okay? The thing is, guys, obsession is not the problem. It's not the problem. The direction of your obsession is what is the problem. That's it. So when your focus is pointed towards some symptoms, your brain assumes the symptoms are important. And dpdr remains active. But when you flip this, when your focus is pointed towards your purpose and your identity, your brain learns that you are safe. So what I want you guys to understand before we go into this is your goal is to not stop being obsessive. It's not to eliminate the obsession. It's simply just to redirect the obsession towards the person that you're becoming. That's it. And I want to talk to you guys a little bit about my life, right? Many people who struggle with dpdr in general have always been obsessive, including myself. Even as children, they fully immersed themselves into things they cared about. For me, I was always obsessed with so many different things, right? I've had so many different hobbies, played so many different sports, challenges, competitions, everything, right? In every single thing I did, like I was really creative with a lot of different things, but every single thing I did, I was obsessed with. I did even yo-yo competitions. I had an Instagram account for doing flips. I did magic tricks. I played football, basketball, wrestling, track, every sport you could name, soccer. I was obsessed with all of them at one point. I always flipped that obsession, but I was always obsessed. And that's just me. Like, you could say it's ADHD, hyperfocus. I don't even believe ADHD is a thing. It's all just a spectrum, or how you want to say it is. I believe I can be any identity I want. But at the end of the day, my obsession is what fueled all these things. Now, this level of focus helped them grow quickly. Like, I got really good at a lot of different things. Very, very good at a lot of different things. Like, I always, like, I remember when I played Fortnite back in the day, I made lots of money from playing it. I was insane. Simply because I was fucking obsessed. Okay? And this allowed me to grow for the longest time. But as I entered my teenage years or adulthood, the same trait that was directed towards these things was the one thing that pulled me away from my potential. I fell into, the vices of, substances, distractions. I was really into, just living it up, that YOLO mentality lifestyle. From the young age, smoking chronic amounts of like weed, all these things, drinking all the time, and all these things. These things really fueled a new obsession. I created and I developed a new obsession. And this obsession was an unhealthy obsession, right? Everything I've ever done has been to the absolute extreme, right? I'm never going to do anything half-assed, never going to go 10%, never going to go 50. It always has to be 100. So if I look back, every single negative vice that I've had, every single, negative vice, whether it was porn, whether it was scrolling, whether it was, even like girls back in the day, like I used to be, before I could even like have self-confidence in myself, I was obsessed. Every single crush I've had, obsessed. Those kind of things, right? Ever since a kid, like, it's always been an obsession. But these unhealthy obsessions turned into an escape rather than actually growing, right? So I fueled that obsession in the wrong thing. And instead, like, I remember going on my TikTok, and it was just all like weed videos. I was just all like, just the most terrible For You page, because that's all I really thought about, right? It's all I remember I envisioned myself, just only worrying about the moment, the present moment, partying, vices, weed, just escaping, right? And, I was that kid, I was that person, right? So what happened was my nervous system eventually stepped in. dpdr formed not because something was wrong with me, but because I drifted too far away from the version of me that I was meant to become. That's it. That's a sign of misalignment, right? I had so much potential, but I was feeding that potential into things that were literally making me a lazy piece of shit. Think about that. As a man, I had the ability to conquer and create out of these things, and I fueled that obsession into, all these things that aren't even in alignment with me. And I was obsessed with, the next hit, the next dopamine hit I could get. That was my obsession. And, that can go down a really dark path. And it was one of the lowest points in my life, right? Like, I mean, the thing is, I thought I was living the lifestyle, but I was just getting farther and farther in the trap. And I thought I was there was some high periods in the life there, but every single thing that goes up artificially is going to go down. And I drifted too far away from the version of me that I was meant to become, and obsession fueled the lifestyle that created misalignment. So how does obsession feed dpdr? Because when dpdr appears, obsession often shifts directly onto the symptoms. You begin researching, constantly checking how real you feel, analyzing every sensation, and thinking about dpdr throughout the day. So that was me. You know, like as soon as I got the dpdr, which came from a sign of misalignment because I was feeling the obsession in the wrong way, obsession started to even work farther out of my favor because I was obsessed over the dpdr symptoms. Now, if you want to talk about my symptoms, I had like every symptom you can name, but my biggest things were crazy visual symptoms. It was like I was tripping on like acid all day. I had like visual staticky everywhere, snow everywhere, like halos, all these crazy things. I also had terrible brain fog, terrible existential thoughts. I felt like I was behind a glass wall, separated from the world around me. Didn't feel like me talking. My hands didn't feel like mine. Didn't recognize myself in the mirror. I could go on, right? I had all these symptoms, and I became obsessed. I mean, like no one has ever researched as much as me when it comes to DPD. I can stand by that. Like obsessed, right? And the thing was, when it comes to DPDR, it's like your mental for you page. If you were scrolling on your TikTok or whatever you guys scroll on, if you come across a sad video, even if you don't like the sad video, even if you don't want to see the sad video, if you watch it, you're going to get more of it. If you engage in it, you're going to get even more in it. Like if you share it with someone, you're going to get a shit ton of it, right? So when you talk about how you feel to someone else, when you even recognize it, you're going to get more of that feeling. And the more attention you give it, the more your nervous system truly believes it must still protect you. And obsession becomes the engine that keeps DPDR alive. So, you are not stuck in this state because the symptoms are powerful, but simply stuck in this state because your focus is extremely powerful and you're using it and your attention circling around DPDR, which keeps you reinforcing the very state you want to escape. But this also means something very important. The moment you redirect your focus, the cycle will begin to weaken day by day. Okay, so let's get into redirecting obsession towards your purpose. Okay? The thing is, guys, obsession becomes a superpower. It truly becomes a superpower when you point it towards the right things. When you can direct and fuel your focus towards something of abundance, like a life that is incredible, right? If you can, put it towards having more structure, discipline in your life, being healthier, growing in all aspects, what happens is your nervous system can't thrive in that environment, and your nervous system will receive a new message. It will start to learn that your life is actually progressing again, and that you are actually in alignment with someone who can create a life of abundance and all these things of your potential, right? And what happens is, the thing is, fear in DPDR can't thrive in a state of purpose. I've never seen it happen, right? So purpose replaces the fear, and then direction replaces the searching. Because when you have direction, there's too many things to focus on. Direction, like a clear way to know if you have direction is if you wake up and you know exactly what you're doing, why you're doing it, and where it's taking you. That's direction. So we're going to get into that, exactly how you can kind of create that direction for yourself later on in this video. And then we have identity. Identity is knowing who the fuck you are. Who are you? Like, why are you here and what do you want out of life and what's your purpose? Finding your purpose comes from cutting out all the noise, eliminating cheap dopamine and cheap distractions, and finding yourself. And, this is why people recover when they find something meaningful to build towards. Your mind cannot remain obsessed with DPDR at all when you're locked into the identity of your higher self. Something I want to mention real quick too, because a lot of people were like, well, before I got DPDR, I wasn't, smoking weed, I wasn't drinking, I wasn't doing all these things. I kind of just fell into it. That's completely normal too. Your higher self is probably pretty freaking high if you were misaligned like that. So at the end of the day, it's very easily to fall into this state and to be misaligned with your higher self and then not be in devices, right? You can still get anxiety regardless, right? But anxiety is a sign of misalignment. That's what it is. So the same intensity that once fed the problems now fuels your evolution into the new version of yourself that you're not only creating, but that you've created, right? So let's first understand your higher self. So this is the part of the video that's going to really, really help you understand who your higher self is. Why is your higher self telling you to fix your shit? So let's start with this. Your higher self is the version of you that lives in alignment. It is not a perfect version of you. By no means is this perfect. You're ever going to reach this higher self. It is just the disciplined, intentional version of you that already exists inside of you. So the thing is, guys, there's never you're never hitting your higher self, but being in alignment with your higher self is the key. You want to make sure that you are on track to be that higher self. So this version of you will show up consistently, constantly, always showing up, and it will constantly make decisions based on its values, its purpose, its morals, rather than how it feels and emotions, right? We want to cut out how we feel every day. If you wake up and you're like, oh, I don't feel good, you're a girl, right? I mean, I didn't mean it like that, but I'm saying, like, for all my guy viewers, bro, you're being a bitch, right? Like, wake up. Who cares how you feel? You got to step into that version of yourself. At the end of the day, when you step into this identity, your nervous system recognizes stability, okay? So you have to be the version of yourself who doesn't care about how you feel. How are you progressing towards your goals, right? This is how you create structure. What you need to do is no longer need dpdr to protect you, and the only way you do that is through proof, and you need to prove it through your actions. So your emotional baseline strengthens, and as you do this, as you get on, it'll start to strengthen, it'll get stronger, and then your sense of who you are will become clearer. All the symptoms will fade in the background. It's not about eliminating the symptoms, but it's about replacing your focus towards something else, and they'll fade in the background. So the thing is, recovery is a byproduct of the alignment. You're not trying to recover. If you guys are still in the mindset of like, oh, I need to recover, you're already fucking failing. Like, I'm being honest, you're already failing. You have to have the mindset of like, I will do this because I genuinely want to be better. Not because I need to get better. Not because I need to, recover. Not because I need to have the symptoms to go away. Just because I want to fucking improve. Right? And until you get to that mindset, it's going to be very, very difficult to overcome this. And the big reason why so many of you guys feel so disconnected is because dpdr is a sign that you are misaligned, okay? And you have to accept that. And a lot of you guys have a hard time accepting that as truth, but it's more than true. So what you need to do is understand that when your habits, environment, and actions drift away from your higher self, this is what happens. Your nervous system becomes extremely overwhelmed and it has no idea how to respond or how to react. Now, when it is overwhelmed, this misalignment creates a lot of instability. Instability essentially activates protection mode, and protection mode becomes this dpdr state. Now, what is returning to alignment life? So when you return to alignment, your nervous system will start to settle, it'll start to trust you, right? Because you're actually doing what you say you're going to do. I believe in God, and I believe God puts each and every single one of us on this earth for a reason, and we have our own God-given gifts. And, if you aren't aligned with that purpose, if you aren't aligned with those gifts, He'll show you in some way, shape, or form. And I think dpdr and derealization is one of the strongest ways to show you that you got to fix your shit. Genuinely. Whether it's a lack of confidence, whether it's this, and that, you got to understand this. Your brain releases the need to protect you because it recognizes consistency, purpose, and that clear identity. See what I said there? Consistency, purpose, and the clear identity. So you need to be consistent. You need to know what you're consistent on, what's your purpose, and you need to know clearly who the fuck you are. So you need to wake up in the morning and tell yourself, I'm the man. And why are you the man? Because you're doing this, and that. This is why you need to know exactly what you want. And the thing is, guys, you do not feel like yourself because you have not been living as yourself. As your identity strengthens, your sense of reality will return. Okay, so knowing that, here's what I want you guys to do so you can actually take away actionable value from this video. This is called alignment work, okay? This is turning obsession into the catalyst for who you are becoming. So, one is we got to define our higher self. I want you guys to take out a pencil, a pen, a piece of paper, something to write this down on so you can actually apply this in this video. So write a description of the aligned version of you and be clear and simple. Exactly is descriptive, as clear as possible, as simple as possible, the better. But you want to show exactly to a T what your higher self would look like and the aligned version of you. So here's some examples. My higher self is disciplined and structured. My higher self follows through on commitments. My higher self chooses growth over comfort. My higher self speaks calmly and acts intentionally. You need to write your version below, but I as many as you can. These were just a couple of what you could write, 100. Genuinely, I say, I will do what is required. My higher self holds itself to a standard of excellence every single day. My higher self talks this way. My higher self looks this way. My higher self speaks this way. My higher self is making this much money. Don't just be broad. Say exactly what you need. These answers are honestly shit. I could have gave you guys way better examples. These are horrible, to be honest. You want to give exactly to a T. So my higher self makes a lot of money. Why do you want to make the money? For what reason? What is behind you making the money? Is it selfish desires? Is it because you want to have a purpose? Find out why. Is your higher self have kids? Why? Because you want to be able to have an impact this way and this way. Know exactly what and why. Next two is your reasons. Your nervous system responds strongly to purpose. Purpose is a why and it's a reason for getting out of bed in the morning. You need to write your why and write why stepping into your higher self matters. Now, the best way to do this is to obviously write some things like I want to feel connected again. I want to trust myself. I want to build a life that reflects my potential. I want to stop living. But like I wouldn't even see. I'm not perfect when I make these things. I said like your why could be I want to stop living in survival mode. I think that's decent, but I honestly I don't want you guys to do this just to overcome dpdr. So I would honestly take out a lot of these things, but focus on more of like non-dpdr related your why. You can even say just to not feel the way that I feel right now, but what I want you guys to do is know a clear why and then do the flip side of that. So if your why is to trust yourself again, do the opposite of that. What happens? So write, I want to trust myself, but also write, what happens if I don't trust myself? What will happen in my life? Say I want to feel connected again. What would happen if you don't feel connected ever again? These are strong reasons to have a why. I want to be able to be the man for my kids. What happens if I'm not the man for my kids? Well, then my kids won't have a dad to look up to. What happens? I want to be the husband for my wife. Well, what happens if you're not the husband? What if you're not the fucking man that your wife can look up to? Well, that's the flip side. So you need to know the consequence as well. Write these reasons extremely clearly. Now, section 3 is you need to identify the misaligned patterns in your life. Okay, this is where you know exactly to a T, right, of what you need to do. So, list the habits, thoughts, or behaviors that keep you focused on dpdr instead of your identity. So, some examples of this would be constantly monitoring your symptoms, constantly checking how you feel. If you guys are researching, what the fuck are you doing? The only thing you need is one simple thing that works. Watch my content. That's it. Next, over researching. So if you're researching, as I was saying, that's going to feed the loop on and on and on. Next, we have like a lack of routine. So no structure. Like you wake up in the morning, nothing to do. You have no idea how to start your day. You don't have an exact plan on exactly how you're going to execute on your non-negotiables every single day. And your highest leverage tasks, you don't have anything that are actually going to progress you. We have avoiding responsibilities. As a man, you have a lot of responsibilities. You have to be able to show up for yourself and your future family or your current family. You don't have any real responsibilities, so you're kind of just you have too much free time to create this excess problem. We have inconsistent sleep. If you're not getting good sleep, there's no excuse for that. And it's not good sleep, but it's also sleeping in one day, waking up early the next day. That's bullshit. We need to set a very specific time. We also have excessive screen time. You guys are scrolling. Put that shit away. This is one of the hardest addictions. With scrolling, guys, one of the absolute hardest addictions to quit. And this is something that's affected me as this is my job, right? Social media is my job. Helping other people through social media is my job. And right now it's day 4. I haven't consumed one piece of content. Now I'm going to tell you why excessive screen time can be so bad. There's many different reasons. One, it's going to affect your dopamine receptors a shit ton, right? You're not going to have no attention span for anything because your baseline levels of dopamine raise. So then you need more and more and more. So when you go to do work or anything that's purpose driven, it doesn't feel motivating for you. 2 is you're going through all your emotions. So when you scroll, you might feel happy, then sad, then mad, whatever. You're kind of going through all your emotions. So you're going to feel emotionally numb because you're just tapping to all your emotions for free, like without any actual real life experience. It's going to feed the dpdr. It's going to cause you to have more anxiety. Another thing is you'll compare yourself to people online. And the biggest thing, in my opinion, is you'll lack your authentic self. Your goals won't be yours. Your goals will reflect your friends, your family, the people around you's goals, the people on social media's goals. Everyone you see, boom, boom, boom. You won't actually be able to hear your voice. And that voice comes from God. Whatever you believe in, it comes from your higher self. But it comes from your head. It doesn't come from it comes from the universe, it comes from God. It doesn't not come from social media. And a lot of times there's something called subconscious reprogramming or subconscious rewiring, which is literally how your brain's being wired based off of all the things that you're perceiving throughout your day-to-day. And if you're consuming content, you're going to become that. You become what you consume, hence being why scrolling is not good. So bare minimum, either cut out scrolling or don't scroll until like the first 5 hours of the day. Like cut that shit out. Write these patterns. There's so much more stuff too. So many patterns, right? If you were meant to do this career, to start that business, and you've been waiting, saying, "Oh, I need to recover first to start that business," of course you have dpdr, right? You have to do the things now. That's a huge thing. Don't wait till you recover to do anything. Do it now. Section 4: choose a direction for your obsession. So choose one purpose that you obsession energy will now serve. This becomes the anchor for your transformation. So here are some examples. Your health. If you want to live longer, you feel like you've been deteriorating your health, no one wants to fucking die early. Good health. Next, we have discipline. How can you be more disciplined? How can you? And discipline does equal freedom. It's a really good book. If you ever read Discipline Equals Freedom, read the book. But discipline. Why do I want discipline? But I need to have discipline. Create a plan for that. Career or education. If it's your business, for me, what helped me get out of it was I was actually a fitness coach online as well. So I spent months and years actually being so hyper obsessed with fitness coaching and helping others. That was my new mission, right? And I became so obsessed with it. I remember just nonstop. That's all I could think about every single second of the day. Was my mission? Was my purpose? Was helping other people? So find that for yourself. If you're in school, how much can you dial in your school so you can actually get the career that you want? Boom. Self-improvement. Huge thing. Read all your self-improvement books. If you're going to be on social media, make every single video that you consume self-improvement wise. Be in the best shape of your life. If you're not shredded and jacked, that's a huge thing you can have. Don't even complain about depression, anything else, if you're not in the best shape of your life. There's just no fucking excuse. Like, I'm being honest. I'm going to be more strict in these videos because these are just so obvious, right? Like, if you're not in the best shape of your life, there's no excuse. Next, we have helping others. How can you actually impact other people? Building confidence. Why do you need to build confidence, guys? It's because if your cup is empty, you're going to have nothing to give to your wife, your kids, your family, your friends, anyone around you, right? You need to build that confidence within yourself. So write all these things for yourself, and these are things you have to find for yourself. Obviously, not everyone's the same, and I'm different than you. Now, section 5 is daily alignment actions. So now that we know what we want, write 3 simple actions that your higher self would complete every single day. These actions teach your nervous system that you are safe and consistent. Here are some examples. Structured morning routine. That will build discipline. Every single day, that will build discipline. That was also self-improvement wise. That is going to get me in the flow state every single day. What I say is, like, we're not Alex or Mosey. It's very hard to wake up and just get right to work. So if you have something like a cold shower, my morning routine is I wake up, I make my bed, 50 push-ups, hydrate, cold shower, and then I'll get right into my highest leverage task of the day, and I won't do anything else until that's done. So have that structured morning routine. Then we have training or movement. Know exactly, like, the gym session, the running, whatever you need to do to be able to get in the best shape of your life, right? That's a good purpose. Or if it's for your health reasons, boom. Planned work block. All right, that's going to be for your career or education. For me, I had a planned work. These are just random examples, but I'm giving examples of some things you could do. A work block for me, I used to do like an hour and a half work block. No matter how I feel, I will get an hour and a half of work done for my coaching business, and that's what I did. That way, I guarantee that I progress. Nightly routine. That's going to be more structured. That's going to help with my discipline. That's going to help with me building confidence because I'm going to wake up in the morning knowing that I, did everything in my control. Then we have intentional meals. Every single macro I track to a T. Every single thing I ate to a T. I became obsessed with that shit. And guys, I don't know if you guys see my physique, but it got insane as a byproduct of the obsession. So you got to feel your shit in the right way. And what I can say is, like, control the controllables. If you guys know that you have the gym, you have the food, and no one can control what food goes into your body. Only you can. There's no excuse. You can control the food that you consume. No one else can take that away from you. So why not get in the best shape of your life? Why not be jacked? Why not do all these things? Because you have the ability to. And what will happen is your brain can only perceive and process so much information. So if you flood your brain with so much positive input, with so much of an obsession, it'll push out all the negative information, and there won't be room for anxiety and dpdr because all you're thinking about is these things. I need to hit my morning routine. I need to go to the gym and work out. I need to hit my work block. I need to, start my nightly routine now. I need to get this meal in exactly to a T. I need to hit my protein to the gram. Because when you're so obsessed, you don't even realize it because you're so obsessed with the inputs, you're building a crazy physique that everyone else can see. Not only that, but you're recovering from dpdr because you're not even thinking about it. That's the key, right? Also, reduce screen time. All these things. So you will become someone as a and recovery comes as a byproduct. The goal isn't to recover anymore. It's to do these to be your higher self. And what happens is if you guys start and there's that resistance, that creepy fucking resistance. If there's that resistance, recognize it and say, I'm going to follow through regardless of the resistance. Because that resistance is going to be there until you continue to go. Because what happens when you go is you start to get a little bit of a result. That result is going to give you a little bit of a dopamine hit. That dopamine hit is going to start to show you a reward for this boring ass shit. So say, you hate work blocks, but then you do work blocks for 3 weeks in a row and, it actually starts to become productive. You start to make a lot more money. Boom, then you're going to be more excited to do the work block. Say you start going to the gym for the first time in years or the first time ever. It sucks at first. There's that resistance. But as soon as you start hitting the gym, what happens is you start to notice results, right? After like a month or two, you'll start to see, oh, my chest is looking bigger, my abs are coming out, eating right, all these things, and then it makes you want to do it more. So you have to do it for long enough to get the reward, and then it becomes fun. Then you'll actually need to be your higher self instead of you only doing it to recover. So it might start out with you doing it to recover, but as you go on, that's when it becomes an obsession with your higher self, right? So you're going to start out probably being like, okay, I don't want to actually better myself, I just want to recover. But then you get addicted to it. That's the goal, because you need to have some reward first to even be addicted. And now at the bottom of this, I want you guys to write the following at the bottom, right? I am redirecting my obsession towards the person I am becoming. I am no longer feeding fear or misalignment. My actions reflect my higher self, and my nervous system will follow my lead. And then sign it and date it. That's your contract with yourself. That's your promise. And then execute, guys. I spent a lot of time on this video. Hope you guys enjoyed all that. But in conclusion, guys, the obsession that you've created with dpdr can be replaced into your higher self to actually change your life forever. And dpdr will just fade as a byproduct of that. So don't make it about dpdr. Make it about being your higher self. If you guys want to work with me to reach a full 100% recovery within weeks, like you can right now, it's December 1st, right? You can reach a full 100% recovery by January. And let's say you don't recover, you'll get your money back. That's how confident I know I can get you recovered. So reach out to me through Instagram, DM me the word freedom, see if you're a good fit, we can get started. But we're all in this together. Love each and every single one of you guys.